What if I told you that it's possible to make a living playing poker for only 1 hour a day? Sounds too good to be true, right? Well, let me tell you my journey of doing exactly that in 2024. Today I'll say my results, the highs, the lows, and the biggest spot played last year. But wait, who is the hero? I was born in a small city in Spain, and my life while growing up had a very conventional path. Spent most of the time playing football, hanging out with friends, and being a good student. However, poker happened. I was 19 and living in a student accommodation, and my friends started organizing poker nights. I was very respectful of gambling, so I did deny the invitation at first. But I was also curious, so I stayed, just watching them play, and that hunger for competing really started growing inside of me. So I took a fiver and I joined the next game. And what do you think it happened? I got cleaned out. But my desire for getting better took me to research and study the best strategy to beat and crush my mates. So I did. And once I was done with them, I decided I had to look for more fierce, more capable opponents. So I grabbed all the money I had and I went to battle with the online games in NL2. Since that first poker hand, it has been almost 8 years, and what a ride! Today, I find myself playing mistakes for a living. Yes! And in 2025, I am starting this YouTube channel, and this one is giving you a front row seat to the wins and what you really live for, someone else's defeats. Every month, I'm bringing you some boring rambling, just going around some special events and my sensations while playing, but not only that. I am also bringing you the good mandanga, the biggest spots, lost or won, and uncensored graph. So let's get into it. First of all, I wanted to say how grateful I feel for where I am today and how have I got to this point. Well, there's a specific practice that has helped me immensely to build many habits that make me feel really good on a daily basis, and that is the daily tracker. Do you feel like a new year, new me clown, motivated for a week, only to fall down into your old habits faster than a whale calling down with repair? Introducing your new best friend, the daily tracker, a cutting-edge technology that helps you write yes or no next to your habits.
I used to think discipline was about motivation. Turns out, I just needed a table where I write yes or no. Genius!
Side effects may include feelings of responsibility and reading souls at the poker table.
Alright, jokes aside. Now, tracking habits has really been one of the most important things for my progress in poker and in life in general. Keeps me accountable, helps me tweak things when needed, and it removes the guessing part. So if you're struggling with consistency, I highly recommend you try it out. Now, back to the recap. In 2024, I worked a total of 1,600 hours. So you get an idea, a standard job of 40 hours a week, including vacations, would have around 1,900 hours per year. On the felt, I spend 600 hours, and that is 1 hour a day. And even though this is on the title, and I have now a weird smile, this is actually not something I'm proud of. So what the hell did I do with the rest of the time? I do enjoy having different tasks around my professional schedule, so I also spend some time studying poker, coaching poker, doing some research and managing my investments, and helping a bit in my family business.
Because a man who doesn't spend time with his family can never be a real man.
Still, that's not an excuse. The volume is too low for what I would have liked to achieve, so what am I gonna do about it? Well, I'm setting a well-structured schedule for the upcoming months. Let me show you. Essentially, every morning weekdays, I like taking at least 1-2 hours to do sport, usually going to the gym. Monday, I start preparing coachings for the week, and now also YouTube. In the evening, I am helping out on my family business, which I also do on Wednesday. But nights are playing time. From Monday until Thursday, grinding every night, no exception. Same thing on Tuesday, Thursday mornings. I'm streaming a bankroll challenge in the BTS channel at 5 PM Tuesday and Thursday, and coachings usually happen after the streaming and Friday mornings. But what about the weekends? Since I am pretty busy during the week, I am mostly taking time off. Mostly, because there are 2 exceptions. I am leaving Friday evenings to grind in case I did not complete the volume goal that week, and I need to pick 2 weekend days every month to grind. 70 hours, that's the total amount of hours I want to spend at the tables. And what have I modified from 2024? Well, as I said earlier, the biggest change is being more structured. Whereas before I was playing whenever I had time for it, now I'm making it a priority. So let's see if it works out. And how did I do in those 600 hours? Rumble. I made 154 buy-ins. But can you see any tendencies in this graph? Let's take a closer look. See this part? Absolute disaster. The software was clearly rigged. The RNG was taking the wrong decisions again and again, and the weather was bad, which probably affected my mindset. But the sun runs, oh man, they were all about skill. Because it cannot be variance, right? Anyhow, I'm quite happy with the results, so that's a big reason why I should focus more on grinding in this 2025. And I know some of you will be upset about not talking about the actual money amounts, but I have my reasons. First, for privacy, I prefer not disclosing how much money I made from poker. And second, since from now on I will be sharing results on a monthly basis, keeping it in big blinds helps me be, and also you hopefully, be less results oriented. Because variance is huge, and when you're doing multi-staking, looking at the results in dollars increases the variance even more. Now, let's get into the hands. First hand, we're playing 500L with a 50 cents ante, and this is actually not the top 3 biggest spot played in 2024, but I really wanted to show this one. The villain is 100 BVAP, 60 PFR, and 40 3-bet. Yes, you heard it right. When I gave him the nickname, I didn't give a fuck, do I? We get dealt Queen 7 suited and a reg limps from UTG. A reg limping, did I actually mean recreational? No, it actually makes sense. This is what I called the principle of over-aggression. Anytime that an opponent is playing over-aggressive, your range will tend to play more passively prior to his aggression and play aggressively after his aggression. For example, opening less versus an aggressive 3-better to call and 4-bet more once he goes for the 3-bet. Checking often on the river as a trap versus an aggressive bluffer to bluff catch, value raise, and bluff raise often. And creating a limping range versus a high PFR to call and limp raise aggressively versus his ISO. For that reason, I decided to limp behind, and we face the unsurprising ISO, the reg calls, and here is where I think I actually made a mistake, because once the regular only calls, his range becomes super capped. And the recreational here is, again, he's playing 60% PFR. So Queen 7 suited versus that range, playing in position and deep, is actually doing pretty well. So by raising here to 30 big blinds, or 25, I get to retake the initiative, isolate versus the recreational, and play in position a big pot versus a very loose range. However, I did go for the call. Flop comes ace 8-6 with claps, the recreational fires for half pot, regular falls, and we just get to call here in position. Turn brings the straight, the flush draw, the pair draw, we have everything going on. Recreational fires for pot, we're really hoping to see a green card on the river or a straight or something. And bam! We hit not only the straight, we also hit the flush. And the recreational goes ahead and checks. And now it's when we actually have a pretty interesting decision. We had been playing for a few hours, and the recreational playing style was pretty aggressive, but also pretty colder. So I see two options here. We can either go small, trying to induce bluff raises by him, and the other option would be to jam it in. And since he went for the pot size bet on the turn, he can still be holding decent amount of ace-x, even some 2 pairs, maybe a straight. So going for it all and trying to get some hero calls, I think is the best play. That's what we do. And the recreational calls and actually gets cooler with the king 6 of spades. And that's one of the craziest calls I have ever seen in my poker career probably. He literally loses to any hand in my range. And so yeah, he makes this minus 300 big blind EV call, and we take down the 3.4k pot. This hand now, it is my second biggest spot played in 2024. And we're playing NL 2000 with a $2 ante. Villain is the main character also of the biggest spot played in 2024, so let me introduce him. He is a 70-10-4 who was never folding through aces pre-flop, who was super aggressive post-flop with high c-bets, high barrels, high bet river. So let's call him the money printer goes brrr. we're dealt poker tens on the button, and UTG, who is a nitty reg, goes ahead and opens to 2. MP, another nitty reg, calls, and here we have a decision. Well, I mean, we actually do not have a decision. We should always be raising here. The EV from the recreational calling behind is way too high with such a strong hand. However, I did go for the call, which, yeah, it's a pretty big mistake. In the game, I think what I was seeing is that he was being a bit more aggressive with the squeezes, but yeah, like he was definitely not aggressive enough to justify this call. However, we are not punished by the mistake, actually quite the opposite, because Villain goes ahead and makes it 5 big blinds. MP, while UTG now calls, MP also calls. What the hell? Okay, I guess he was saving those 60 bucks for a nice dinner. And now it's time to pump it up. We make it 45 big blinds. The recreational calls and the regular falls. And the flop comes 7, 3 deuce, rainbow. And here the important thing is to not let him fall. So you gotta choose a size in which he still keeps 100% of his range. I did go for 10 big blinds. Could have gone probably for a bigger size because in this board, any part of his range is gonna have overcards, and that's gonna be too tempting for him to call. Here on the turn, even though the intuitive option is to just go all in, I think we should at least consider the check. There are 2 factors we should evaluate. First, how wide his range is, because the wider it is, the more low equity hands we find in his range, and the less we mind those giving a free card in order to extract money from his bluffs. And secondly, how aggressive is he? The more aggressive it is, the more money he's gonna put on the river, either with value, but also with the bluffs. In this case, being a 70 BPIP, and with the high preflop aggression, even though he did a squeeze preflop and his preflop aggression was low, which makes his range somewhat tighter, I think there is still more merit to checking back and just letting him hang himself. However, this decision seems pretty close, so I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the comments. Pablo of 2024 does not agree with this, jumps it in, we get called, 5,800 in the middle, we have 70% equity, can we actually hold? And we do. Let's go. Now we see the biggest spot played in 2024, which is again versus the same villain, but it was actually not played in the same session. It is playing in 2000L with a $2 ante, and we are dealt ace king, falls to us, pump it up to 10 big blinds, could go even bigger because he was calling anything. He calls, now the regular on the big blind jams it in. No decision to be made here, put all the money in, recreational calls, and they show up with ace jack off, pretty strong, and nines. So we're playing at $7,154, 34% equity. Can we triple up? Flop is 557, we break, turn is a 4, no hope, and river is a 5. Please drop a like if you want to see more content, and follow the channel if you do not want to miss any updates. See you soon!